Imagine a city that never sleeps. Not New York, not Tokyo, but Pripyat, a young Soviet town built for workers of the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant. It was modern, proud, a symbol of Soviet progress. Wide boulevards, amusement parks, schools, and apartments filled with families who believed they were living in the future. On the night of April 25, 1986, the city was calm. Children were tucked into bed. Teenagers whispered on balconies. Factory workers smoked cigarettes after long shifts. No one knew that just a few kilometers away, inside the grey concrete walls of Reactor No. 4, the clock was ticking toward catastrophe. The plant's engineers were ordered to conduct a test. On paper, it was routine. They wanted to know if, in case of a power outage, the reactor's turbines could spin long enough to keep water pumps running until backup generators kicked in. But the test was scheduled at the wrong time, with the wrong conditions. The reactor design itself was flawed, unstable at low power. And when operators tried to lower the output, things started going wrong. Alarms sounded. Safety systems were bypassed. The team, under pressure from Moscow to keep the schedule, pressed on. By 1:23 a.m., Reactor 4 was a ticking bomb. And then it happened. Two massive explosions ripped through the building. The steel and concrete roof was blown apart. A chunk of the 1,000-ton reactor lid was hurled into the air. Flames roared out of the open core. Witnesses in Pripyat saw a strange blue glow dancing above the plant, a ghostly light of ionized air. Beautiful, otherworldly, deadly. Inside, chaos. Workers staggered out, vomiting, their faces pale, skin already blistering from invisible radiation. They didn't yet understand what was happening. Some thought it was steam burns. Others thought it was chemical smoke. In reality, they had been bathed in lethal doses of radiation in seconds. Minutes later, the first fire crews arrived. Brave young men, carrying hoses, climbing onto burning roofs with no protective gear, no masks, no knowledge of what they were fighting. They sprayed water directly onto the open reactor, standing only meters away from radioactive fuel. Later, survivors would recall a taste of metal in their mouths. Some described a sensation of pins and needles on their skin. Some collapsed within hours. Most of them would be dead within weeks. And yet, in Pripyat, life went on. That morning, children went to school. Weddings were held. People fished in the river and gardened in the sunshine. The air was thick with radioactive iodine, cesium, and strontium, invisible poison. Parents pushed strollers, unaware their children were inhaling death. The Soviet government remained silent. Admitting the truth would be a humiliation. Even when radiation alarms went off in Sweden, nearly 1,000 kilometers away, Moscow stalled. Finally, international pressure forced them to acknowledge something had happened. Something terrible. Only on April 27, nearly 2 days after the explosion, were the 50,000 residents of Pripyat told to evacuate. Buses lined the streets. Families were told to pack light, bring only essentials. Officials promised they would return in a few days. No one ever returned. Toys, dishes, photo albums, and lives were left frozen in time. The explosion at Chernobyl released more radiation than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined, perhaps 400 times as much. A radioactive cloud drifted across Europe, over Belarus, Russia, Scandinavia, even reaching as far as France and the United Kingdom. Crops withered. Cows gave radioactive milk. Children were struck with thyroid cancers. Villages were abandoned. Generations would carry the scars. And yet, the full truth was hidden. Soviet leaders minimized the disaster, downplayed deaths, silenced whistleblowers. Only later, as survivors spoke and doctors measured the damage, did the world realize the true scale. Pripyat today is silent. An amusement park, with its rusting Ferris wheel, still stands, It was supposed to open for May Day celebrations in 1986. The bumper cars are frozen mid-turn, weeds sprouting through concrete. Apartment windows stare like hollow eyes. Nature has reclaimed the city. Wolves, deer, and birds roam freely. But the land is poisoned. It will remain unsafe for thousands of years. The reactor itself was eventually entombed in a concrete sarcophagus, later reinforced with a steel arch the size of a football stadium. Beneath it still lies the molten wreckage, radioactive fuel that cannot be touched. Scientists say it will remain dangerous for 20,000 years. Chernobyl was more than an accident. It was a turning point. It revealed the price of secrecy, the cost of cutting corners, the courage of ordinary people, firefighters, workers, villagers who sacrificed themselves unknowingly. It changed the world's view of nuclear power. It scarred a generation. And it left behind an eerie reminder. Sometimes the most dangerous threats are the ones you cannot see, smell, or hear until it's too late.